Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with another Starcraft playthrough video. We're continuing where we left off. Seems like people were enjoying the first video's commentary, which I'm happy about. I felt like it was pretty strong myself, not to pat myself on the back too much, but we're going to continue with the Terran campaign. We do have a cinematic to watch, the Downing of Norad II. Now, this is actually one of the only exceptions to that little rule that I said earlier, where you have the cinematics that feel like they do not belong at all with the narrative. This is, in theory, actually directly related to the story. So we'll get into that. Let's check it out. Now, of course, the scale there is completely off, and Scourge and Guardians are making Mutalisk sounds. It's just a whole disaster. Norad II, you.
It appears that the Confederates are in a state of panic about the Antiguan revolt. I'm picking up a high number of Confederate transmissions going back and forth between their outposts and their headquarters on Tarsonis. Most of the transmissions are heavily coded, but wait, here's something.
This is General Duke calling from Alpha Squadron flagship Norad II. We've crash landed and are being hit hard by the Zerg. Request immediate backup from anyone receiving this signal. Repeat, this is a priority 1 distress call.
Zerg? Here? Serves them right. About time they got a taste of what it's like to be in there mixing it up.
Jim, I want you to move in and save that base.
I'm positive I didn't hear that right.
Arcturus, have you lost your mind?
Listen, I know Duke's a cold-hearted bastard, but an entire colony shouldn't have to suffer for that. Besides, a Confederate general could prove to be a powerful ally. This is an opportunity we cannot miss.
I don't like this at all.
I'm not asking you to like it. I'm asking you to do it.
Yes, sir.
Great. Let's get this over with.
All right, so you got a little bit of a sort of power dynamic established here. Obviously, the hierarchy being that Kerrigan, despite being the unit that we've commanded in battle, and presumably has some talent there in terms of battle, is actually taking orders directly from Mengsk. So Mengsk really is the heavy hitter, the main man, and Duke was the main man before, so sort of got cucked by Mengsk in this particular case. We've left Duke for Mengsk, and now we're coming back to save Duke's ass. I did want to put a finer point on the discussion of that cutscene. While it's, inoffensive enough in theory, it's just that, again, it bears repeating that there's no world where you would have, in-game, a bunch of Guardians running into a battlecruiser. And actually, Scourge are hard countered by battlecruisers because in most upgrade matchups, certain breakpoints with upgrades notwithstanding, battlecruisers one-shot Scourge. So why would you be attacking a battlecruiser with only Scourge? Again, the fact that the cutscenes demonstrate something completely foreign to a player who has experienced the game, not just the campaign, but also the multiplayer. The disparity between what the cutscenes show and what the player knows to be true about the game, this is stuff that, while it doesn't immediately ring true for people who have never really experienced the melee gameplay or who are not innately knowledgeable about breakpoints and upgrades like I was just mentioning, those people won't necessarily get it immediately. But as you grow to understand the game more than Blizzard ever bothered to when they were putting together the story, you'll realize just how silly and foolish and seemingly slapstick and obviously misleading a lot of these cutscenes actually are. Why would you be sending Guardians that can only attack ground units to flank a battlecruiser, one of the most powerful units in the game, where the only thing that you send to actually attack the battlecruiser is a unit that can one-shot, or it gets one-shot by the battlecruiser? Okay, good, great idea. Whoever was leading that Zerg brood must have been just an impressive intellect. Very grateful for their service to the Swarm. That notwithstanding, of course, the power dynamic at play in this briefing is moderately more interesting than what we ended up experiencing with, of course, the previous couple of briefings. There's a bit more going on. And notably, there's no discussion at all with regards to the magistrate. You can sort of improvise or infer that, oh yeah, when Raynor said, let's get this over with, he was talking to magistrate and Kerrigan. And when Mengsk said he's not asking you to like it, he's asking you to do it, he was also talking to the magistrate, in addition to the two characters that are on screen. So you can infer it there, but it's not required for the scene to make sense. It actually makes a bit more sense, I think, if we're just witnessing this scene as opposed to actually being there as a character. But that's pretty much always what I've thought. I've only ever thought that the viewport strategy of campaign design, character design in an RTS context has served to make the experience worse and to make the story make even less sense than it already does. And that's quite an accomplishment. It never augments the story, it never makes it better. It always makes it worse, or is a neutralized factor, like in this briefing, where it really doesn't matter. Now, as far as General Duke's transmission, I did want to go on the record and say that voice acting was pitiful. He does not sound like he's on edge whatsoever. He sounds only moderately more serious than when he's just dismissing your complaints. He actually sounds a bit more angry when he's talking to you directly. He's like, and frankly, I don't give a shit what you have to say about Confederate regulations. Like, he sounds kind of more emotional and sort of annoyed, right? There's something there you can latch onto with that transmission compared to the one that we just witnessed, where he says, this is General Duke of the Terran Confederacy. I'm being shot down. Send some help. Yeah, send somebody to revive your broken fucking soul from working at Blizzard Entertainment. I'm sorry, man, but I couldn't save you. Protect Battlecruiser NORAD II. Bring Raynor and 2 +1/-1 dropships to NORAD II. There's a lot of 2s here. In fact, there's 3 2s. There we go. We found it, boys.
Go ahead, Commander.
Gotta speed up here. Oh, fuck! Get him. I was playing without my other hand there for a second. Had to take a sip.
This should be good.
Big sip of water, man. Oh no! Another tooltip to explain certain things about the game that I should just know because I played the game. I wish landing on units just executed them. TBH. So we have this random, non-explained Confederate outpost. And then over here we have NORAD II. And then we have spawned units.
That ship won't last long against those Zerg.
I love spawned units. Don't you love spawned units? Say it with me, boys. Pre-placed brigade, spawned units, boring maps, mineral fields placed just to fuck you. Blizzard quality. So I'm obviously not going to bother actually trying to engage with this mission. I don't think that'll be necessary whatsoever. We'll just be on our way as soon as we drop ship. There was actually some weird way to speedrun this. I think it's just that you take a barracks and you lift it off, and you take all the spore colony fire first, and then that's after you have already sent in your dropships. Oh, I guess you do that before you send in your dropships. So we'll try that. I can just build 2 dropships and then lift off my fucking starport and barracks and take the heat. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Of course, there's no actual threat. The biggest issue you might worry about in this map is, oh, I might need to spend some of my limited gas to repair the NORAD II. But it's really not that necessary. And we could scout around. There are some Zerg, a lot of pre-placed Zerg in this map. But I don't think it's that necessary to pay attention to. Honestly, after playing Hydra Fraud Knights, this feels really bad to experience. It's like, wow. I'm playing something where I am in no way meant to actually engage with the game's systems here. I mean, they pre-placed 58 supply. I haven't built the depot or anything. They pre-placed that much supply, maximum supply for me. That's pretty impressive.
This is Jimmy.
All right, let's poke our heinies over here. Slap down a mine. Hey. There you go. Bit of advance warning for when the attack ad 2 Zergling hits us. And honestly, the lack of engagement, broadly speaking, is one of the biggest letdowns, the biggest issues with this whole project. The idea that you're going to be sitting here, you know, just with a little bit of fundamentals, you trivialize the entire engagement.
Your forces are under attack.
This should be good.
See a nerd. Not really worth the mine, but whatever. Imagine building your factory before an armory. What kind of sick fuck do you take me for? I'm trying to show you guys a meme expansion, but this meanie is over here. Dude, what if Raynor died? That'd be pretty embarrassing. Oh, it was actually less meme than I remembered it being. Layout's pretty stupid, though. Again, like, why even... Like, you have these situations where presumably the AI is actually... Like, it just stops you from taking certain fights. And stops you from really aggressing against them. And these spawned-in units are just, like, straight-up gimmicks. Which is pretty embarrassing, obviously. So, yeah. Like, I don't really get the idea behind any of it. I don't get the idea behind sitting here doing nothing, building a couple of workers, and then not even really being rewarded. Wait, why did I... Get out of here, dude. I don't even need you. Why did I, what was I saying? I don't like the idea that I'm sitting here doing nothing. I don't have to build any depots. I'm just building a couple of SCVs. We got fucking inaccessible mineral fields again. 2 of them, one of which will never be unmined, basically, because look at it all. Like, it's just, it's goofy. The whole thing is goofy. The whole map is a gimmick. I don't even have access to tanks yet. We're 6 maps in now, and I don't have access to tanks. I don't even need to build that, but I'm just so bored out of my fucking skull, I might as well build something. This is what I mean. Like, this campaign is not at all engaging. I think if you really want your work to be... like, timeless? Is that even a word to describe what I'm talking about here? If you want it to last... If you want it to feel right, for lack of a better term, it's got to demand something of the player. I think good art, and I hesitate to use that term to describe video games, but good creative works, high quality creative works, I think that you can almost always pinpoint, like, whether or not something is good at all. You can almost always describe it that way and say, hey, like, I know that this can be good. This has the potential to be good, at least, because it challenged me. It made me rethink something, refactor some strategy, do something differently. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't do any of that. Oh, some Scourge over there, too, that I'll have to get rid of. Currently repairing my engineering bay. So that I can use it to lift off as well. But it's like, when I'm sitting here doing this, just to get this campaign over with a little bit faster, I think it explains everything you need to know.
Go ahead, HQ.
Well, let's give it a shot.
Your forces are under attack.
Strap yourself in, boys. I got them. Buckle up. It's the 555. Strap yourself in, boys. Hang on. We're
See you, nerd. Oh! God damn it. Well, we basically won. Oh, my skull.
Are under attack.
All right, boys, it's round 2. Let's go.
Go ahead, HQ. Destination. In transit, HQ. Buckle up.
Which one is Raynor?
I'm listening.
I built 3 this time, dude. I told you, it's the magic number 3. Has to be 3. No, not again, Raider! God damn it! If 3 dropships doesn't work, certainly 3 tries will. Of course, they killed the fucking Wraith first. Alright, we got it. We got it, man. The Scourge can't hit us now. See you, nerd.
Jim, enough. I'll handle this.
Jim, we need not a mature rating.
Its colonies are in open revolt. The Zerg are rampaging unchecked. What would have happened here today if we hadn't shown up?
Your point?
I'm giving you a choice. You can return to the Confederacy and lose, or you can join us and help save our entire race from being overrun by the Zerg. I don't think it's a difficult decision.
Join forces with you? I'm a general, for God's sake.
A general without an army. I'm offering you a position in my cabinet, not just some backwater post. Don't test my patience, Edmund.
All right, Minsk. You got a deal.
You've made the right choice, General Duke.
I can't believe you're really gonna trust this snake.
Don't worry, Jim. He's our snake now.
Oh man, how do you even take that one down? I just can't believe it. Honestly, I look at this and I'm thinking like, wow, man, that is some crazy shit that they just paused the game. First of all, this mission has a ton of center view. Center view on the engineering bay that's burning down. Tooltip. Center view on Norad II, because you can't be trusted to see that you have some shit on the mini-map. Spawn shit in, just XD, and have it unburrow right underneath you. Like, that's such a crazy gimmick. I can't believe I forgot about that, honestly. That's really, like, what tilted this map for me completely. Like, before it was just forgettable and really time wasting, but not, like, that's maliciousness, honestly. That's like, we cannot be fucked to make the AI actually attack this area organically. We can't be fucked to add some sort of mechanism by which we can direct the AI's attacks. We're just going to spawn units in here, and not even like spawn units and order them to attack. Not even something like that, which would still be a gimmick, but would at least be hidden from player sight. We are going to gimmick the Zerg in such an early stage of their characterization that players may actually be convinced that Zerg units can unburrow underneath Terran units without actually being there first. Like, I probably thought that when I first played the game. I probably thought Zerg could just unburrow there. I remember, for example, thinking that Nidus canals could train Zerglings and Hydralisks and so on because of the Brood War Protoss mission, the first Brood War Protoss mission, the micro one, where you're walking through this jungle area and a bunch of Niduses are spitting out units. Because that's a triggered gimmick, and it's meant to sort of simulate the idea that Niduses work in the way that they actually do, but it doesn't actually work that way. And I'm pretty sure Niduses don't even play the sound globally. I think they only play for the player that's affected. Could be wrong about that one. I know that, for example, that's how Comsat works, where Comsat you scanner sweep and it only plays the sound for the player that cast it, not for all other players. So I'm pretty sure the same thing is the case for Nidus, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since I looked at that particular part of the game, but despite it, even forgetting the sound thing, it's like the whole thing is a gimmick because it's not how they actually work. I was convinced that you could just train units that way. I was like, oh, I don't even need to build hatcheries. I could just build Niduses. And then I built them and I was like, what the fuck? It's not working. And I thought I did something wrong. Well, it turns out it was just the game that did something wrong, really. It was just the campaign that did something wrong. So I really don't see the point of this mission. This could have been part of the cutscene. Not even an RTS map, clearly. They could have made it an RTS map, or they could have made it part of the cutscene. You don't make, like, half measures here. This is just silly. And obviously I won it in a very silly way. And the circumstances by which I had to get to the point where I could win it were very silly as well. But come the fuck on, man. Seriously? Like, this is a map that I really don't even know whether or not I should open. But you know what? I guess I will. Hold on one sec. Here we are looking at the lovely, disgusting map that we're seeing here. Couple of pre-placed men. And yeah, there's no units over here. We take a location here. We see crash site. If we go find some triggers owned by, I would assume it's by one of these players. Yeah, create one Zerg Hydralisk. So this is actually a one-time thing, it looks like. I thought it would, oh no, yeah, switch 3 is set. And I suppose switch 3 is something to the effect of like you own the base or something. So yeah, there's just like every so often you'll create a bunch more units. Elapsed time is at least XD game seconds. So like it's not an organic, it's nothing organic whatsoever. It's just a shitty way for them to have that sort of thing happen. And I just am so flabbergasted by that, because this is a game, this is a map specifically where, I mean, there's even expansions on this map. Like, if you were just to look at this map as a layout, we've got, like, just quickly hide all of the pre-placed units, right? Oh, I guess I can't hide the pre-placed units because I'll also hide the bases. But, you know, we have a situation where we've got a base over here, and it was actually like, okay, it is only 6 mineral fields, so it's not great, but it has gas, and it's, like, compared to my fucking starting base layout, it's a dream, because I can actually get mineral efficiency, and it will probably mine out at around the same time, except I don't need as many workers mining to get the same result. So it's better actually than my base, I would say. Probably has more gas in here as well. I think there's only a little bit of gas in here. Yeah, it's got more than double the gas. Not that that really accounts for anything in this particular context, but in a real game environment, that would be a deciding factor. Then we have more colonies pre-placed without any hatcheries, which just is, like, obviously Blizzard doesn't give a shit if you think about the game rules within their campaign, because they're spawning stuff in. So, like, pre-placing a sunken colony somewhere is nowhere even in their brain as, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that. Let alone pre-placing a bunch. And look at all these spores too. It's like, I guess the actual way to go in would have been to arc up here and take a right, and maybe I would have been able to squeeze through there with enough dropships, but whatever, man. I went through the lion's den and I still came out XDing them. I guess I could have gone to the south too. It's just so silly to me that they went this route. Like, I don't understand why you would decide to build a map where the objective is to complete, as Simon says, bringing dropships to a beacon. And in theory, that means, like, okay, you can still build an interesting gameplay loop around that. How fortified is the area around the beacon? Does the AI actively try to continue its fortification? Does the AI try to take control of the area in the beacon before you can? Does the AI try to kill you before you can do anything? None of that is true. The number of pre-placed units here vastly dwarfs my own, which is a very common factor in all of these maps. It's just ridiculous to even assume that, yeah, here's what I got for you. Here's a map where you won't be up against a bunch of pre-placed units. You won't be up against so many pre-placed units that they could just wipe you off the face of the map at the beginning of the game if they cared enough to win. And on top of that, don't worry, you're never going to run into any issues where there are enemies being spawned in. That will never happen. Yeah. Epic. Also, I don't remember if I brought this up earlier, but this is just embarrassing. Like, the idea that they shipped the game in this state and somebody like me had to go into the tile set and fix this manually. What the fuck are you doing, Blizzard? Oh, man. Let's just get on with this. The Trump card. Secret staging area. Antigua Prime Colony.
Commander, our position has been discovered. As of 2 hours ago, a large Confederate strike force arrived on Antigua Prime and established a base camp within our defensive perimeter. Arcturus Manx is calling a meeting.
Greetings. I know you're all concerned about the Confederate strike force. But first, we have a grave matter to discuss. It seems our data disks didn't hold weapon designs after all. Lieutenant Kerrigan will explain.
You all know that the Confederates run a program for psychically gifted humans, training them to be ghosts. Those running the program found that the Zerg are attuned to the psychic emanations of ghosts.
So the Zerg are here for you, darling? This keeps getting better and better.
Shut up. There's been a lot of secret Confederate research surrounding ghosts and the Zerg. What we stole was a small but critical piece of the puzzle. Designs for a transplanar psionic waveform emitter. The emitters broadcast the neural imprint of a ghost, but at a much greater magnitude. These things reach across worlds.
The Confederacy used these psi emitters to lure the Zerg into isolated containment areas. Your colony, Mar-Sara Commander, was one such location.
What are you saying?
I'm saying the Zerg are a secret weapon developed by the Confederacy. I'm saying you were all subjects of a Confederate weapons test. Just as they destroyed Korhal with nuclear weapons to establish dominance a generation ago, they would use the Zerg to put an end to their other rivals. Only this time there'd be no outrage. Who could suspect the aliens were their creation? No, they'd be lauded as heroes for coming in and destroying the Zerg. It's time the Confederacy paid for its crimes, and I know just the way. Lieutenant Kerrigan is going to plant an emitter at the Confederate base camp. Commander, you will provide her with an escort. When the Zerg arrive, they'll break the blockade for us and we'll make our escape. Now, get moving.
I get that they were probably trying to save on time in this particular case because the briefing is already very long at this point, but the fact that we don't hang on any of Mengsk's words and get a response to them from anybody else feels really out of place, especially considering how much time they wasted with dialogue in the previous mission. Also, considering the previous mission's ending where we recruit a literal Confederate general, aka somebody who probably knows something about the psi emitters, kind of funny that he's conspicuously absent in this briefing so that they didn't have to write any confrontation between the Rayner and Kerrigan, who are already on the fence about securing Duke's allegiance in the first place, and talk about how, hey Duke, did you know about this, you fucking piece of shit, you asshole, you motherfucker? And then for him to either deny it or say, I did know about it, what do you want me to say? There's no resolution there, and there never really is. Duke, I guess maybe you could infer or just guess or fan fiction reality in your own head that Duke actually did know about psi emitters, and that's just because he seems very cavalier about using them in a later mission. That's pretty much it, though. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with. So the idea that they just ignore that entire potential plot thread is insane to me, because they're trying to make this like again, if you go back to my previous video where I talked about how Blizzard wanted to, in theory, if this was a story, if a movie, rather, this is like the whole Jacobs installation section would have been like the thing that kicked the second act into gear, the thing that bridged the gap between the first act and the second act and gave our heroes some understanding of why they were doing what they're doing, some motivation to continue onward. It would be a latchkey discovery. Well, this is the realization of that, and it's a little dragged out because it's been, basically given to us across multiple missions, but that's like sort of the putting a capstone on the Jacobs installation latchkey discovery. It's like we're actually figuring out what that means. The other issue, though, is, again, the fact that in the Jacobs installation, it's completely optional for you to find the Zerg. And, for example, in my playthrough, I did not find the Zerg. So we still get nothing out of that. We have no real idea as players of whether or not that was the thing. That you really should have just had that be a mandatory thing so that you could further that characterization and plant that seed early, guarantee that seed was planted early in the player's head. But, of course, you also shouldn't have had it be a micro mission, if we're going to be honest. That being said, consider the fact that the only time we've seen a ghost up until this point, I do believe, was the Jacobs installation mission, where there was a single ghost that was pre-placed guarding the data disk. And I killed him with Rayner, and there was no dialogue. And that's fine if you want to go a minimalist route and say, hey, I wonder what that unit that said Terran Ghost when I clicked on it was. I wonder what a ghost is. But then you can't launch into an just deadpan, breaking all of the rules, telling, not showing, explanation through exposition of what a ghost is, and the whole idea that the Confederates are doing experiments with ghosts and Zerg and so on and so forth, and here's how that links back. It's like, we don't know that because there was no explanation of what ghosts were the one time that we encountered them previously. How would we have figured that out? I didn't even know Kerrigan was a ghost until she said something about ghosts, and then Raina Raynor said, "Here for you." Like, that's the only time, like literally the only time we even get an inclination, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I missed some dialogue event earlier, but suffice it to say that the characterization at this point is very weak. And the idea that we would even know what a ghost is, let alone what their lore, backstory, history is just patently absurd because we haven't been given that characterization. It really feels like the briefings were scripted by people who descript, like, oh, yeah, here's Johnny, he's scripting his one mission for the day, and he only scripts the briefing, somebody else scripts the mission, and then we get another intern to script a completely different map, a completely different briefing. Like, it feels very disconnected. It's a similar problem to the cutscenes not really connecting and jiving with the rest of the game. In some cases, not really connecting or jiving with the rest of the campaign. Similar thing seems to be happening between the campaign briefings and dialogue events themselves, but also just like the generic characterization. There was no through line. There was no careful consideration for how you were going to tell this story. It was very much just slapstick. Now, I don't mind if you're going to just say, hey, I didn't give a fuck about my story consistency, my verisimilitude, or however you pronounce that word. I don't care at all about that. I'm just going to try to like make people, give people a good time and give them people a good product. I don't think that was what Blizzard intended, and they certainly didn't succeed in the good part. But if that's your excuse, like your excuse for this really poor quality storytelling is that maybe Blizzard didn't care enough, and maybe that's fine because they're not trying to make the next, Shakespearean novel or whatever. I don't really, I don't take that much umbrage with it because not everything has to be a Shakespearean play, and not everything has to be something that's really high quality. I would like it if everything tried to be, aspired to be high quality, at least in execution, if not in concept. But I accept the fact that there's not going to be a unique interest and not necessarily going to be some sort of agreement upon everybody who works on creative works to make something as high quality as possible. But the number of people who tell me that Starcraft's story was epic, it was great, it was grade A, it was the best that it could have been, and that there are no flaws. I mean, I've met people who really do believe that, and I just want them to look at that, just this one section, right? See how quickly they can try to apologize for that. Bring the psi emitter to the enemy base. Kerrigan must survive.
I'm having doubts about this, Arcturus. I just don't think anyone deserves to have the Zerg unleashed on them.
I know you have personal feelings about this, but you can't let your past cloud your judgment. Carry out your orders, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
So we start out with 1 million more pre-placed stuff, as usual. We've got 50 pre-placed structure, or pre-placed supply. Oh, I can't build any add-ons in this, so then let it over there. Nice mineral field. Destroyed. So the power-ups work such that I can't actually use this guy to mine resources, so I have to use him only for building and repairing.
Lieutenant Kerrigan reporting. It'd be a pleasure.
Just gonna cloak Kerrigan here. I mean, I could win this mission in like no time at all either, but
What now?
I won't just yet.
It'd be a pleasure. I read you.
I don't need all that pre-placed supply. Oh, we actually get tanks this mission. I forgot about that. Ah, who am I kidding? I'm gonna win this mission in 1 second. Oh yeah, I thought they would have a comsat or a scanner, or there's that 1 in 256 chance to miss, by the way. Hope you like that.
I'm waiting on you. I gotcha. I'm waiting on you. I read you. Thinking the same thing. It'd be a pleasure. I read you. I gotcha.
Goodbye.
I read you.
So yeah, you can just D-Matrix drop ship and land them in there. It's not really that difficult.
Kerrigan reporting. I read you.
And again, they're barely attacking you. They just have some pre-placed shit. This gimmick. Man, I'm very glad that the missions after the tutorial missions go faster than the missions that are the tutorial missions. I mean, isn't that just epic?
Your forces are under attack.
Just gonna get some men over here.
In transit, HQ. I copy that.
Commander, what do you want, Commander? I dig.
What now? I gotcha.
Transmit order. Give me something to shoot. Rock and roll. Receiving headquarters.
What now?
Give me something to shoot.
Lieutenant Kerrigan reporting.
Transmit orders.
Lieutenant Kerrigan reporting.
Yeah?
Thinking the same thing.
Jacked up and good to go.
Gotta hide behind the trees, dude.
I read you, sir. Oh, is that it? No problem.
I'm listening.
Off you go.
Visual?
Send us a postcard.
In transit, HQ.
Your
Strap yourself
forces
in,
are under
boys.
attack.
In transit, HQ.
Science are in place. Just promise me we'll never do anything like this again.
We will do whatever it takes to save humanity. Our responsibility is too great to do any less.
I don't really get the whole humanity line there from Mengsk. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me, but we haven't really seen that there's an existential threat to all Terrans in the sector, partially because we haven't really seen any establishment of the scale of how far Terrans stretch, how many colonies there are, so on and so forth. So we can't actually make that determination. We can infer based on Mengsk's verbiage that maybe there aren't really that many Terrans and that we need to save them, but he's also killing people, and he's clearly trying to manipulate people into doing his duty at this point. So we can't really assume that he's, you know, a reliable narrator in that respect, a reliable fact relayer, truth teller. The other thing I did want to mention is the fact that there are... Like, there's this underlying sense that obviously was reflected in the opening of this mission where Kerrigan mentions that she's having doubts about planting the psi emitter. This is the second mission that she's been sent on in a row by Mengsk where there is no... there's not really a whole lot of trust there, or there's not really a whole lot of agreement from Kerrigan as to whether or not this plan is the right one. First one was Duke, and the second one was this. So... say what you will about the characterization thus far and how weak it has been, there is at least that through line going on, and Mengsk does at least seem like a less and less trustworthy individual as time goes on. That being said, I still think it's very silly to do it the way that they end up doing it, because again, Mengsk stops seeming believable. We don't have the context behind whatever Mengsk and Kerrigan's backstories involve to know why Kerrigan would still side with this guy. We don't even get a hint at it until later. Like, Raynor just somehow dreams up the information in one of the later missions. But Raynor himself also, like, really doesn't have that much of a reason to trust Mengsk at this point. He's got reasons to distrust him, actually. For one, there's all of the things that might be true that the Confederate propaganda involves. For another, there's him wanting to secure Duke. For a third, there's the thing that we discussed in the briefing of this mission, where apparently the Confederates were in on the whole Zerg thing, and maybe Duke knows something about that, and Mengsk still wants to, you know, use his services. And now there's this psi emitter thing. So there's like a lot of things that are racking up against Mengsk, where all he really did to show us that he's trustworthy is something to do with our evacuation from the Zerg. And obviously in that mission, that fell apart entirely characterization-wise because we just killed the Zerg with 15 minutes to spare. And then I got a lot of water and went to the bathroom a lot. And that was my experience with that mission. So say what you will about whatever imagined reality you might have thought. StarCraft is a mess through and through. And it's a very unfortunate mess because it really didn't have to be this convoluted. They could have actually told a much simpler story in a much better way without relying on backstory we never got and exposition dumps that we never wanted. And I guess I probably should look at that map in the editor, huh? All right, well, here's the map in the editor. Again, you have these tanks that I think that they just don't unally you until the opening cutscene is done, which is kind of funny because in theory that means you could just walk up here and start shooting them. But I didn't bother trying that particular cheese this time around. I really only bothered trying to attack the tank over here, which doesn't seem to be here. There is a location that spawns a tank over there, which is ridiculous. But, you know, gimmick's gonna gimmick. Really funny how this entire project has just fallen apart before our eyes as soon as we look into the map editor. Like, why do they even have bunkers over here? Look at all these bunkers. Look at this terrain block. Like, why? What is even going on here? This area is not even that important to use. It's not even like you would use this area to get to their base. If anything, you would use, like, this path, this upper path, to go into the Confederate base. Or you would use the path that I took, which is much more straightforward, we'll say. So weird. So strange. Why do they do that? Why do they spawn a tank? Another thing that should be mentioned gameplay-wise is, obviously we only had 5 mineral fields, and one of them was positioned in a super far away place that really pisses me off. Glad I didn't have to mine for real on that map. But I mean, look at the disparity here. There's 3 bases. One of them is just got depots in the middle of it for no fucking reason. The other of which, yeah, and by the way, this depot would need to have been killed in order to place a command center. Almost certain. Yeah. Unless you wanted to place it over here or over here. So you actually have to lose that structure. That's psychotic. And I used to do that all the time in my really old custom campaigns because I didn't know how to make the AI actually expand. So I would just have them pre-place a bunch of shit and say, hey, here's a base that you're keeping warm for the player. Once the player ends up having to slog through that, kill it, and then expand. That was the only way that I could figure out a way for the AI to actually have some sort of investment into the area. In this particular case, it's just ridiculous that the player's own units need to be wiped out of the map so that you can build a command center there. Like, if you actually did save the supply depots the way I was initially intending to with the Kerrigan Ghost, you wouldn't have even been able to... You'd still have to destroy it eventually, and they, of course, target the leftmost one first, I'm pretty sure, because that's the closer target. So ridiculous and silly and goofy and just almost indicative of no testing. Like, a lot of these exploits are indicative of no testing. We get vessels and tanks on the same mission. Vessels have D-Matrix, you D-Matrix a dropship and or an SCV, and you just walk it into the fucking base and voila, you're done. It's like the last mission. They didn't even try. They didn't even attempt to make it playable by way of the normal mechanics of the game. Now how many missions are we that where we didn't even macro? I guess we've only macroed for 2 maps. It was Desperate Alliance, which we only built Marines, and Revolution, which we only built Marines and dropships, and then a couple rates to bait. And every other mission has either been a gimmick or micro. Or not a mission, which I guess micro is not a mission. Just keep that number in mind, because we just beat the 7th mission in the campaign. Alright, let's get on with it. What next? The Zerg, lured by the Siamiter's signal, descended upon the unsuspecting Confederate forces and annihilated them. Once again, the Protoss fleet, under the command of High Templar Tacitor, arrived and incinerated the planet. The Big Push, Command Ship Hyperion, holding perimeter orbit over Confederate capital world of Tarsonis.
Greetings, Commander.
Hi.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Thanks.
The time of our final strike against the Confederacy is close at hand. Before we can strike at Tarsonis itself, however, we must break through the Confederacy's most potent defenses. General Duke will brief you.
I've defended Tarsonis in over 30 major battles, so I know its defenses inside and out. There are three primary orbital platforms that serve as staging areas for the Confederate fleet. If we assault the central platform, we should cause enough of a ruckus to allow a small force to break through the planetary defenses.
General, I'm impressed. I never figured you for the frontal assault type.
Well, the Confederates have Omega and Delta Squadron troops defending the platform. And they're nothing compared to my Alpha Squadron boys.
Right.
I like how that Duke line has nothing to do with what Raynor said. I mean, I guess you could infer again, but it's so indirect. Oh, hey, I should probably switch to my actual scene, huh? XD. All right, no problem there, guys. No worries. At least I didn't leak anything embarrassing. Besides shitcampaign.exe! Eliminate the Confederate forces. Duke must survive. So, Norad II was repaired and presumably is still skyworthy. So here we go. We got the Norad II. This is a more straightforward macro mission, even though you start off with no base because you have to land it. And wait till you see the resource layouts in this map, man.
Can't believe this. Half a squadron never would have left this equipment behind. That's what I call sloppy.
I copy that.
And this is mostly an excuse so that you can,
Your forces are under attack.
I guess, learn how add-ons work, but also, I don't even need that fucking, look at this. Wait, is this even accurate? No. Look, they placed the add-on away from where it should have been placed. Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. Well, we can suicide these transports and also get some scouting information. Yeah, I don't care about the second nuke silo. I'll just build a... Yeah, do you think they wanted you to use nukes, by the way?
Go ahead, HQ. Is the 5 Buckle up.
Oh, I just wanted to scout. I had a dream.
Not enough minerals.
Camera hotkeys. They don't teach you that in the tutorial. What a mess. I guess we could suicide these wraiths too. I don't need them.
Reporting for duty. Standing by.
Make up your mind.
I don't remember if they start out with marine range or not. Guess not.
Reporting for duty. Affirmative. Reporting
Not
for duty.
enough minerals.
So yeah, imagine actually landing over here and mining from there. Like some...
Your forces are under attack.
Hi, Ahmed. Bye, Ahmed. Very goofy.
Orders, Captain. Orders, Captain.
Your forces are under attack.
Check out my pre-placed brigade, guys.
Additional supply.
Alright, I don't even have more than one gas. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but
Your forces
pretty
are under attack.
offensive. Oh, there wasn't even anybody in there. How goofy.
Orders, Captain.
Your forces are under attack.
Check out this gas pathing.
I read you. Right away, sir.
I'm here.
Ridiculous.
Well, should work.
Yeah, Ahmed, dude. Love him. Think I need at least 5 men in that gas.
What?
It's not really super important that we clear out these bunkers. I'm mostly doing it for something to engage with and look at while I play the game. I'm just gonna go ahead and probably get some tanks, I guess. I don't remember. I don't think units get stuck over there. That would be pretty embarrassing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Dude, imagine how slow your gas income would be if you landed over here. What were they thinking? That's just inexcusable. I don't care how noob you are.
Orders received.
I wouldn't tolerate that from even the most greenhorn map makers alive.
Your forces are under attack.
Got anybody in there? Oh.
Go, go, go.
Oh boy.
Research complete.
I'm here. Report for duty. Orders for
You sound very thrilled to be here. Just like me. So I don't know if we've intercepted an attack force or what, but...
piece of me, boy.
Honestly, those wraiths have not been that bad at the end of the day. I'm okay with their inclusion. I think they sort of served their purpose. But I got a tank now, so it's all over.
Piece of me, boy. Let's move.
Cancel, cancel. P for plating. P! P, guys. It's P. Ridiculous. So just build a fucking academy over here in case I need a comsat later for anti-wraith.
Your forces are under attack.
I expected this.
Your forces are under attack.
Come kiss me, bro. I guess not.
Your forces are under
Oh, at least he won't be around for much longer.
Your forces are under attack.
Single missile turret would have dealt with that, but I didn't feel like building an engineering bay.
Complete.
We're finally seeing some orange other than those missile turrets that my dropship successfully intercepted. Wow, you don't even get introduced to the idea that science facilities are required for tier 3 upgrades because they just hand you a science facility in both this mission and the previous mission. I forgot about that. Like, keep in mind how little they're actually telling you about the game.
Insufficient Vespene gas.
They're not even really offering you the opportunity to learn anything about the game. Let's go ahead and put a couple of turrets around here. Only a couple, you know, just the bare necessities. And I think once we get to like 6 tanks, we should be set. Hi. It's all Goliaths from here. I think orange goes battlecruiser later? I don't really remember. Might be misconstruing that with the many custom versions of this. See a nerd.
Additional support depots required. Your forces are under attack.
Systems functional. Orders, Captain. Orders received. Right away, yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Systems functional.
Hi.
Additional Supply depots required. Your forces are under attack.
So yeah, pretty straightforward mission, although at least it lets you fucking macro. Unlike a lot of other missions in this campaign. And at least it requires you to build some units. Imagine the fucking reality, by the way, when I'm saying that. That's my great praise for the game, for the map. What are we at tier? We're almost at tier 3 for the weapons. Hi. Did you forget to enter your bunker? Oh, I guess not.
Your forces are under attack.
What's going on over here, man?
All right, then.
There's also some, apparently some, like, heated discussion in Brood War's underbelly about, whether or not it's a little bit more sensible to take the approach of... Wait, how much is a vessel? Yeah, that's a lot of money. I think I'll just stick to my guns over here. But yeah, apparently it's like a heated discussion executed about whether or not it's more DPS to keep your tanks in tank mode. I don't really fall anywhere on that topic per se, but I just think it's kind of funny. Destroyed. I think I have to destroy every enemy unit in this. I mean building, sorry. I don't understand why that might have been confusing. There was an actual campaign where that was required. Blizzard writes an AI. Not only any AI either, the best RTS AI that there has ever been. That's a bunch of these over here. Yeah, I guess they didn't bother getting Cloak. You'll notice that there was a lot of Cloak, actually, in the previous mission. They had Cloak almost immediately. I don't know if that was an AI script request or what, but it's kind of neat to see that. 83 kills, by the way. There's some pre-placed shit over here. Gonna have to clear that up later. Let's see if there's anything over here. More Goliaths, please. You. The hockey is you. Alright, let's just march on over there, I guess. Send an SCV over to repair Duke. Dookie.
Your forces are under attack.
Hi. I don't think that's loaded, but... Oh, it is. I know.
Orders received. Orders, Captain. Affirmative. Orders, Captain. Orders received. Right away, sir. Roger that.
Your forces are under attack. Additional supply depots required.
Orders for duty. Roger that.
Can't believe I idioted myself once again.
Yes, sir.
Your forces are under attack.
What's happening over here? Must they killed my SUV or something? Yeah, the AI barely upgrades in any of these missions. As you can see, there's still 0-0. This layout is also pretty annoying, but I've kind of negated a lot of the annoyance that would be coming from it. Can you guys get up the ramp, or any interest in that? Unintentionally dropping on me. Thankfully, their base is mostly on the low ground over here, so we can kind of lock this area down with some... Oops.
Make up your mind.
Well,
Yes, sir? Did I read you?
Your forces are under attack.
Orders, sir!
As you can see, they have nothing.
Orders, sir! Identify target! What? Yes, sir! Destination proceeding. What? Delighted to, sir!
Yeah, I don't know about this one.
Identify target.
I didn't expect it to be very difficult, but I always expect it to be slightly more
Delighted to, sir!
sensible than it ends up being.
Moving. Absolutely.
Your forces are under attack.
Channel open. Go ahead, TACOM. Systems functional.
I haven't got it.
Comlink
Your
online.
forces are under attack.
What a bully.
Acknowledged HQ. Comlink online. TACOM locked. Go ahead, TACOM.
Oh shit. See, I knew they had a battlecruiser. I'm not crazy, okay, guys?
Systems
I'm just mildly retarded. They've got 3 battlecruisers.
Forces are under
Good thing I built a lot of Goliaths, huh? Guess I could have also gotten locked down.
TACOM locked. Acknowledged HQ. Confirmed.
So bizarre.
Systems functional.
Why would they do it this way?
I haven't got it.
Upgrade complete.
Goliath on.
Why?
Your forces are under attack.
Systems functional.
The world may never know, but at the very least I'll get some closure over here.
Systems functional.
Just by beating this level and using mostly Goliaths to do it.
What?
Channel open. Systems functional. Go ahead, TACOM. TACOM locked.
I haven't got it.
Systems functional. Go ahead, TACOM.
Oh yeah. Classic move. Random missile turret in the middle of nowhere. So what did we learn from this?
Research complete.
Besides the fact that Blizzard is lazy. The layout for this map was, like I said, pretty annoying. I think one of the things that Blizzard really fucked up with is not shipping north-facing ramps into the game. I mean, even some of those Korean Starcraft clones had north-facing ramps. And it's just shocking to me how
Go ahead, TACOM. TACOM locked.
Make up.
they're just not existent in any of this,
What?
Oh yeah, pause.
The emitters are secured and online.
Who authorized the use of psi emitters?
I did, Lieutenant.
What? The Confederates on Antigua were bad enough, but now you're going to use the Zerg against an entire planet? This is insane.
She's right, man. Think
I
this
forgot a space between man and
I
think.
have thought it through. Believe me. You all have your orders. Carry them out.
So this is obviously like a random twist. Came out of nowhere. Nobody knew that there was any psi emitter nonsense. And yet still, they're willing to trust Duke and Minsk. No idea why. But, as always, first, before examining the fucking lore, we're going to take a look at the map. Well, here we are, folks. It's the map. Like I said earlier, it's really silly the way that they positioned these bases, right? This is off into the... So it's just offset by 1 on both axes. And this one is way more criminal. I guess I could have put it right here if I wanted maximum gas efficiency. But as it stands, I just landed it right there. I think that was okay. It was a nice compromise, but I probably should have paid a bit more attention to the idea that I could have placed it there. Just the idea that they would not place them with maximum efficiency is insane. I also want to talk a little bit about the logic behind the Blizzard dev pre-place obsession, or I guess lack thereof in many cases. They pre-place all of these tanks and marines and bunkers and so on and so forth. They even pre-place sieged and unsieged tanks, which, unless you're giving the AI siege mode, doesn't actually make a difference. Like, if the AI owns siege mode, it will always siege a tank, unless it's moving the tank somewhere, obviously. Like, if it's an idle tank, it always sieges, just like idle Zerg units always burrow. So, in the environment, or in the case of something like this, where you're dealing with all of this pre-placed shit, why do they only have 3 SCVs? In what world would they ever use only 3 SCVs to build all of these? They mined all the resources required for all of this pre-placed shit with 3 SCVs. Like, what kind of brain-dead military commander who's not playing the game, who's just sitting there, like, drinking coffee and getting his dick sucked while he waits for his money to build up from 3 SCVs? Like, who would do that in their right mind? And the same is true over here. It's actually also 3 SCVs. Their base layout is even more ridiculous. And then, of course, there's this area, which is classic, like I said yesterday, in the previous mission. Just keeping the space warm for you, in case you wanted to expand here. But why would you? Why would you need to expand at all? I mean, I didn't need to expand, but I just did so that I could pump up more Goliaths with the extra gas. But at what point? Like, what is the point? You know what I mean? So not only are the expansion layouts themselves bad, but like I said, the map terrain itself is really, really bad. The idea that you'd have like this weird off the beaten path section for a starport and a bunch of missile turrets, like, you gave us a battlecruiser hero, but the only way that we're encouraged to use nukes to progress, because this is also the mission where we get nukes. So why would you give us a battlecruiser hero and then have missile turrets everywhere? At that point, you're making the hero not useless, but certainly reducing its usefulness by a considerable degree. On top of that, you got like all these pre-placed wraiths, you got these 3 pre-placed battlecruisers. Again, what fucking AI would build all the way up to having 3 battlecruisers from 3 SCVs? I know it's 3, but come the fuck on. It's just ridiculous. It beggars belief. And the layout itself does not really reward back and forth play. It doesn't really offer you the opportunity to contend with your opponent, because the orange player has to go through their entire rigmarole labyrinthine base to get to this position, which is like a staging ground for them to be able to attack through their allies' base to you. So you have to go through brown in order to get to orange. But why would you want to do that? Maybe you want to neutralize orange first because maybe you perceive them to be a greater threat. In an alternate reality where the AI was actually challenging, this layout would not be functional unless you were willing to just say, okay, fine, I don't get to attack brown. I have to attack orange first. But that's lame. That's so stupid. It's so brain dead to have to do it that way. Why would you do it that way at all? It really beggars belief. Again, like, I don't understand why anybody would want to build an environment where you've got 2 enemies, but you can only attack one after you kill the other. It takes all the choice away from the player. It takes all the agency away from the player. No longer can a player say, hey, orange counters my playstyle with their playstyle, so I'm going to kill orange first. You don't even get the option. I mean, you theoretically could if you modded enough turrets and then dropped some units over here, but it's way more beyond the pale there. And the idea that, you know, orange basically attacks you without, like, with impunity because he's essentially hiding behind brown. Okay, it can work in some contexts where, like, one of them is clearly running interference for the other, but that's not the case here. It's just a bunch of replay shit, so it's not even relevant to an actual playstyle. And yeah, you got this cute defense, but it's not even effective because all these bunkers are placed in such a way that one will fire and die, and then another will fire and die. Like, they're not placed in a functional layout. It just looks a little neat at first glance. So, yeah, a lot to pick apart there. But I think the biggest issue is the fact that we couldn't actually attack orange without going through brown first. That's like the biggest functional issue with this layout, other than obviously the mineral fields. I kind of consider that a separate thing. And the general lack of expansions, I guess. And obviously the pre-placed junk. But what are you gonna do, you know? You can only do what Blizzard gives you to do, and I did it. Shall we move on and continue in this suffering? Sons of Korhal Wraith Squadron Bravo mission. Assault Confederate space platform. High orbit. Confederate capital world Tarsonis. So yeah, this is the infamous random, seemingly disconnected attack the Confederates while the Zerg are annihilating everything mission, or cutscene. I'm not sure if those are meant in the background to be Zerg or rocks, like asteroids.
Answer that and stay fashionable. It's not funny anymore, honey. All right, got the cheddar leaves. Drop your socks and grab your throttle.
Imagine having a sticker on your multiplayer icon.
Confederate platform verified and locked. This one's all yours, Hardy.
Of course, the neither of those two units that we were attacking are in the game. Like a beacon, the combined power of the psi emitters reached out to the far corners of the Terran sector, luring billions of Zerg to the capital world of Tarsonis. The Zerg, overrunning the Confederacy's best defenses, proceeded to lay waste to Tarsonis' major cities and industrial centers. Billions of Zerg, by the way. Do we see any billions of Zerg? Maybe we see like 2? Maybe 3. New Gettysburg. Command ship Hyperion, holding close orbit over Confederate capital world Tarsonis. Get ready for a fucking plot twist, dude.
A dozen Protoss warships descending upon Tarsonis. They seem to be heading on a direct course to the primary Zerg hive.
If they engage the Zerg, the Confederates may escape. Commander, send Lieutenant Kerrigan with a strike force to engage the Protoss. Captain Rayner and General Duke will stay behind with the command ship.
First, you sell out every person on this world to the Zerg. Then you ask us to go up against the Protoss. And you're gonna send Kerrigan down there with no backup?
I have absolute confidence in Kerrigan's ability to hold off the Protoss.
This is bullshit. Kerrigan, are you reading this?
I heard. I'm going down there. Arcturus knows what he's doing. I can't back out on him now.
Funny. I never thought of you as anyone's martyr.
So this is where the story really takes a turn for the drama and the anime, where Minsk just, for some inexplicable reason, decides that Rayner and Duke will stay behind, even though Duke has just proven himself to be able to lead military conflicts, successful military campaigns, and Rayner has obviously won plenty of battles himself before this, which, of course, Minsk is aware of. So rather than sending them all, or at least saying, hey, while she does this, you guys need to keep fighting this, even though we're like not fighting anything right now as far as we know, without even establishing some sort of understanding of what Duke and Rayner are doing instead of helping Kerrigan. We just send Kerrigan down there for no reason, like by yourself. Why? What the fuck is the point of something like this? Beyond writing the characters into a position where the rest of the story can be told. Because they had the plot in mind and they fit the characters into it, and it did so in a really stupid way too. Like a single line of dialogue appended to Minsk's order there, saying, "We can't afford to pull too many forces away from the front lines fighting against the Confederates." Or like maybe he even tries to contact Duke, and Duke says, "I can't. My forces are already are still engaged with Confederate forces, or whatever, or we're still evacuating our forces from the Zerg that are coming because we lured all of those billions of Zerg to the planet by way of those psi emitters." By the way, didn't you read the opening text? And Mink's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry. All right, Rayner, why don't you go down?" "I can't go down. I'm busy sucking Duke off." "Oh shit, Kerrigan, go down quick." And then Kerrigan's like, "Okay, I can do it." And Rayner's like, "What the fuck? Kerrigan's the only one who can do it. Don't send her. Just abandon your position." And then Minsk... Well, the second plot hole to this whole thing is the idea that every single building needs to survive and that the Protoss might kill the Zerg and that might stop the Confederates from escaping. Why do the Confederates... Like, why? How would the Confederates escape? If there are billions of Zerg... For one, why does a single Zerg building, or even an entire Zerg hive cluster in this particular case, matter at all? How does that matter at all in the grand scheme of things? It doesn't. It really shouldn't. The scale that we're talking about from that text, that's obviously completely disconnected from the scale that we see in game, tells us that an entire base is completely expendable. Probably an entire brood is completely expendable. So it's just ridiculous. It's just falling on its face. Tries to do, I guess, some weird anime drama stuff and falls on its face. Destroy the Protoss force. All Zerg buildings must survive. Kerrigan must survive. And yeah, that means like a spore colony and stuff. Oh yeah, just continue the briefing in here. It's fine.
Past. I mean, I've heard the rumors. I know you were part of those experiments with the Zerg, that Mengsk came and saved you. But you don't owe him this. Hell, I saved your butt plenty of times.
Jimmy, drop the knight in shiny armor routine. It suits you sometimes. Just not now. I don't need to be rescued. I know what I'm doing. The Protoss are coming to destroy the entire planet, not just the Zerg. I know that because, well, I just know it. I am a ghost, remember? Once we've dealt with the Protoss, we can do something about the Zerg. Arcturus will come around. I know he will.
I hope you're right, darling. Good hunting.
Why?
What now?
What is this layout, man? Why is my base so far away?
Orders received. Affirmative. Commander.
By the way, our introduction to ye old
What now?
What do you want?
Protoss. Attack add 2 zealot. Maybe.
SCV good to go, sir. Orders, Captain? Commander.
Not sure what we'll do for this particular mission. I think I'm just gonna mineral power for a while because I obviously need to build another command center so I can mine this geyser at a reasonable rate. But I might as well toss that refinery down for now.
SCV good to go, sir.
Slowly distance mine up to enough money to get siege mode. How many returns is that? 150 divided by
Good to go, sir. Roger
8. Let's do some mental math here. Totally not using my calculator.
Your forces are under
Hey,
attack.
hey, hold on. I'm trying to use my calculator.
Let's wax these critters. Stay cool, Commander. Remember the plan. The Zerg are to remain unharmed.
Hang on, we're in for some chop.
I don't know why we get a dropship of all things.
SCV good to go, sir.
$18.75. I'll need 19 returns to get enough for
Not enough minerals.
siege mode. 19 trips of this.
Not enough minerals.
That's ridiculous.
SCV good to go, sir.
Jacked up and good to go. Sir.
I still can't believe they open up our introduction to the Protoss race. This presumably fearsome race of aliens that has destroyed entire worlds. They've decided, hey, you know how we're going to handle this? Attack at once.
I'm listening.
SCV good to go, sir.
I'm not kidding. It's like 2 zealots.
Identify target. Absolutely.
I mean, it's bad enough that the Zerg are completely mischaracterized, but you're also going to do that to the Protoss. And in the same map, too, where like one of them is like, hey, check out this Zerg race. Hey, remember there are billions of them. Also, they can't lose a spore colony. Telling you, man, it's completely falling on its head. Again.
SCV good to go, sir.
After all these minerals are out, I'll just lift this and move down to the bottom left over there, wherever that is.
SCV good to go, sir.
There's a nice little spot there.
Roger that. Orders received. Affirmative. SCV good to go, sir.
Oh, cool.
I can't build there.
You can build there. I permit it.
Base is under attack.
I dig. No problem. Yeah, I'm doing it.
bitch.
I'm waiting on you.
I always used to want to relentlessly chase down queens. Fucking hate them. The AI is particularly annoying with any spellcaster, though. Just how it is.
Good to go, sir. I can't build there. Right away, sir. Orders received.
So I guess we'll throw down some bunkers
Yes, sir.
in a moment.
SCV, good to go, sir. You want a piece of me, boy?
I'm not really even sure. Like, this campaign's gameplay loop rewards are so out of whack that really it doesn't even matter what I think might be a good idea.
You want a piece of me, boy? Job finished. Yes, sir. Orders received. Right away.
Because ultimately it's like, who cares?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter how many SCVs you build. Doesn't matter how many military units you build. It's not going to take very much at all for you to win the game automatically.
Not enough minerals.
Right away, sir. Orders
Just by virtue of you actually playing the game. So that's pretty embarrassing.
Not enough minerals. Not
Get some
enough
tanks.
minerals.
Probably more tanks than just 6 this time. I guess we could do vultures as well, though. I think they use carriers and stuff, so I'd probably just
Orders, Captain.
put a bit more of a premium on
Roger that. I read you.
Goliaths.
Yes, sir. Delighted to, sir. Delighted to, sir. I read you.
Oh, he's the hotkey, by the way. I guess I shouldn't move him right in front of where the other tank is going to pop out. Oh.
Absolutely.
I'll still move him back here.
Orders, Captain. I read you. Orders, Captain. Orders received. I read you. Right away, sir.
Pretty ridiculous that we even need to do the old secondary command center trick in the first place. For shame, Blizzard.
Something on your mind?
Huh? He said a number other than 3. What the fuck?
Problem. Yeah, I'm going.
I think I am losing my mind though, because every now and then I'll hear like a faint explosion or combat sound effect.
Yeah, I'm going. I dig. Ready to roll out. No problem. Yeah, I'm going. Oh,
Hi.
that it? Yeah, I'm going. I dig. Orders, sir. Reporting for duty. Orders received. I can't build there. Something on your mind? Yes, sir. I can't build right away, sir. I read you, sir. I dig. Orders, sir.
I can't believe how little is going on in this map though. That's still really insane to me.
Destination.
Like literally nothing is happening.
Orders, Captain.
Online.
Reporting for duty. Ready to roll out. Identify
Oh no, they attacked with a couple Zerglings.
sir.
Maybe even 3 Zerglings.
Orders, sir. Yes, sir. Reporting for duty. Orders received. Roger that.
Should put a turret back here because I vaguely remember getting attacked with a scout.
Add-on
Destination.
complete.
Delighted to,
Should
sir.
probably scout down there just to see what's going on.
Yes,
I don't think there's any
identify target.
Not enough minerals.
anything pre-placed down there, but never hurts to be sure.
Identify target. Destination.
Also, DK Geyser, classic.
Delighted to,
Minerals that are completely inaccessible. Yep, count them. 3 inaccessible mineral fields.
Yes, sir. Calling online. Orders, sir. Yes, sir. Roger that.
Do I even bother with one of those? Probably not.
Channel open.
Identify target.
Well, I might be in this for the long haul, so...
Orders, sir.
Insufficient Vespine gas. Insufficient Vespine
And I guess this expansion has
Orders received.
impressed me with how long it actually is lasting, so...
Identify target. reporting for duty. Roger that. I read you, sir.
Executed, dude. Oh, freed up some supply.
Comlink online.
Yes, sir. Reporting for duty.
Man, I wish I had gas.
Comlink online.
Identify target.
Channel open. Acknowledged HQ.
Telling you, man, the one zealot that we killed here earlier is going to make all the difference.
Target designated.
Like, I don't think they've actually even tried to attack me. Maybe that's what I just intercepted, but I'm pretty sure that was just because I scouted with a vulture.
Comlink online.
Don't think it had anything to do with anything else.
Identify target. Destination.
Go ahead, TACOM.
Yes, sir. Move it.
Insufficient Vespine gas.
Orders received.
Gonna have to lift that off and move it up one, I think.
Sir, identify target.
Comlink online. Acknowledged HQ.
Identify target.
Executed.
Channel open.
Orders.
Pretty sure they do attack with a carrier later on, so. More Goliaths, please.
Online. Goliath online. Systems functional.
Ready to roll out. Destination. Proceed. Identify target.
Systems functional. Confirmed.
Destination. Identify target. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Systems functional. Acknowledged HQ. Confirmed.
Where the fuck is their carrier? I know they have a pre-placed carrier. Don't lie to me, you motherfucker.
Confirmed.
Destination.
Acknowledged HQ.
Don't tell me I could have just built vultures and saved all my gas for more tanks.
Insufficient Vespine gas.
Comlink online.
Yes, sir.
Holy zealot.
Destination. Delighted to, sir.
Dude, holy fuck.
Proceed.
Upgrade complete.
Just like that, I killed my own tank.
Absolutely.
Wow, they start out. Oh, I don't know if they started out with +1, but they certainly got it quick. Way quicker than I expected them to get it.
Your forces are under
Well, I guess it's a good thing I got this gas.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Destination. Proceed. Identify target. Yes, sir. Move it. Yeah. Identify target. I'm ready.
Clear the way, man.
Order scout, job finished. Can I read you? Identify target. Destination.
Go ahead.
So yeah, my +1 is not nearly as strong as it ought to be.
Delighted to,
Comlink
sir.
online.
Go, sir.
Man, they built a lot of shit in response to my aggression. One of those
I read you. Roger that. Orders received.
epic maps where if you don't have the required number of units, you just die.
Comlink online.
Yes, sir. Move it. Yes, sir.
Systems functional.
Identify target.
Channel
Proceed.
open. Systems functional. Navcom locked.
Oh, I thought they were going somewhere, but I guess not. Vanished.
forces are under attack.
Rock and roll. Outstanding. Rock and roll. Give me something to shoot. Go, go, go.
Order scout.
Thought I would have.
Job finished.
Your forces are under attack.
Wait, what? All right, I'm perplexed. I don't know what's happening.
Standing by. Go, go, go.
Reporting for duty. Can I read you?
Just get me out of this misery.
Reporting for duty.
Slightly increase my mineral speed, please.
SCV, good to go, sir.
Save me from myself. So yeah, our first introduction to Protoss, a turtling motherfucker who defends with way more units than he builds otherwise.
Destination in the 555.
Orders, sir. Yes,
Oh, okay.
Input coordinates. Buckle up. Strap yourselves in, boys. I got that.
Well, they might be drunk now. They're like, holy shit, we killed the players' units. It's we're the first AI to do it. Celebrate, pop a cork, and go back to being idiots, please. Oh, yeah. I need a starport so that I can start grabbing some more units, some more upgrades. Weird to me that Zerg was the only one that had like a modular way to get tier 2 before tier 3 and so on. That's exactly what I wanted you to do, thank you. See you, nerd. Man, how much pre-play shit did these guys have?
Your forces are under attack.
I got that. Destination. Identify target.
Systems functional.
Orders, sir. Destination. Orders, sir.
Target designated.
Orders, sir.
They still have another base on the bottom right, but thankfully it was not so difficult to actually break through this stuff. Just surprised me that they actually had so many zealots. I don't really know how much of that stuff is pre-placed and how much of it is unrelated, but...
Orders, Captain?
Give me something to shoot.
Orders, Captain?
yeah, check out all those idle SCVs that can't do anything. Check out that zealot walking away from his base that's under attack.
Target.
Did I read you? Orders received.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Acknowledged HQ.
Orders, sir. Proceeding. Identify target. Yes, sir.
Systems functional. Go ahead, TACOM. Confirmed.
Identify target.
Oh, check out my zealots.
Proceeding. Absolutely. Moving. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
At least I don't think a single photon cannon hit ever incurred against any of my units. I can say that much.
Job finished.
That is indeed an accomplishment. Where I'm from.
Yes, sir. Roger that. Field day. Right away,
Your
sir.
forces are under
Roger that.
attack.
Lost 1 million tanks to zealots, but other than that. Love it when the AI accidentally does epic strategies like that. I can't believe they didn't start out with a pre-placed carrier, though.
Roger that. Orders, Captain?
Ready to roll out.
Channel open.
Orders, sir. Identify target.
Your forces are under attack.
Channel open. Acknowledged HQ.
Oh. I saw a lot of dots appear and disappear. It was just a shuttle unloading stuff, but for a second, I hoped I saw a carrier.
Your forces are under attack.
I'm listening. Hang on.
Oh no! Photon cannon hits!
Orders, sir. Proceeding. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, our streak was nice while it lasted.
Identify target. Yes, sir. Identify target. Identify target.
Systems functional. Go ahead, TACOM.
Your forces are under attack.
Orders,
Go
sir.
ahead, TACOM. Acknowledged HQ.
Orders, sir.
Systems functional.
Destination.
Unbelievable rudeness.
Identify target.
Look how shitty this layout is, by the way. Holy moly, I can't do anything.
Yes, sir. Identify target.
Systems functional.
guess I should take that dropship actually and leave it over here just in case some clown decides to go somewhere. You never know what will cause them to want to rebuild their mains. I think I got everything in that town, but again, with Blizzard scripts, better safe than needing to yeah, exactly.
Identify target.
Lieutenant Kerrigan reporting.
Orders, sir. Proceeding.
Just only expect Blizzard's AI to be consistently fucked up, if anything. That's the only consistency you can expect out of them.
Your forces are under attack.
Identify target. Destination.
Look at all these pylons just in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Identify target. Proceeding.
Can't believe I lost a unit to a photon cannon at the last second. Should have looked away so I could have pretended I didn't see it. And somebody would at least have felt like a smart guy. And be like, hey man, Pronago, you didn't even see this unit that died. Not even paying attention to this masterpiece.
Upgrade complete.
And you're right, I'm not. Still paying attention enough to know when I got pranked. Check out this trigger.
Base is under attack. Receiving incoming transmission.
This is Kerrigan. We've neutralized the Protoss, but there's a wave of Zerg advancing on this position. We need immediate evac.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
What? You're not just gonna leave him.
All ships prepare to move away from Tarsonis on my mark.
Boys? How about that evac?
Damn you, Arcturus. Don't do this.
It's done. Helmsman, signal the fleet and take us out of orbit. Now.
Commander? Jim? What the hell is going on up there?
Bye, Kerrigan. Enjoy your evacuation. And the Zerg just fucking sit there and do nothing at the end. Classic move. Giant OK symbol. Well, what can you even say about that mission? I guess I'll have to say it in the editor. Well, boys, take a look at this. Dude, seriously, why is my base so far away? Why would you do this to the player? Like, you really just don't give a fuck, I guess. So this is the very important base, laid out in a very important way, where if the AI attacks with anything more than a zealot, they'll kill a building and you'll fail. So they decide to only attack at one zealot, and even then, not really. I guess there really was no pre-placed carrier, much to my chagrin. But they pre-placed quite a bit of other stuff for the AI, including 2 Stargates. Notice that they didn't actually build any additional structures. You know, that was just what they had pre-placed. The AI is very keen on doing that. So, unlike you will always be building more structures. The AI will never do that. Just another way that you and the AI are fundamentally different, because they treat the AI like static objects of grind for you to overcome. And I think the map design also reflects this, with these long passageways that feel very disconnected from one another, that you have to go up one and then down one just in order to kill the enemy base. That doesn't really provide that much resistance, but certainly has a huge amount of pre-placed stuff. I mean, just look at the unit layer. I have 34 max supply, 14 pre-placed supply, and a hero. They have 108 pre-placed supply with 218 max supply. That's over the maximum supply cap in the entire game. That's how much supply they actually have pre-placed. The Zerg, on the other hand, are a little bit more tame at only 35 pre-placed supply with 41 max supply. But keep in mind, they are also at Hive Tech with an Ultralisk Cavern, a Queen's Nest, a Hydra Den, at least one Spire, and a Greater Spire, and an Evolution Chamber, a spawning pool. Classic behavior. They have a base over here that in theory they might want to take, but you know, they won't ever do anything like that. Nice resource area alignments. Love that. And that's basically where we're at. We're dealing with an AI that has over 100 pre-placed supply, but can't beat us, even with their attack add 1 zealot attack, because we have a hero that deals concussive damage, among other things. I mean, that's just sick in and of itself, but the fact that the map itself, the map layout itself, wastes your time in a similar fashion to the previous mission, except we're trying to fight two different bases that are owned by the same player instead of two different bases that are owned by separate players. That's a big deal. Then we have this arbitrary gimmick where we're not allowed to attack a Zerg building, or kill a Zerg building, rather, otherwise we'll lose the mission. And I don't even know if there's any dialogue reflecting that. I'm pretty sure you just lose. Or maybe it'll say, like, a Zerg building has been destroyed, and then you lose. Similar to the whole hero death thing. It's just ridiculous. The idea that anybody would play this and think, yeah, this is fine. This is something that we want to ship to the public. Not only is it not anywhere close to what an RTS really ought to be, but it just fundamentally fucks with the player and creates this super unfair, grindy environment where your introduction to the Protoss is, again, just attacking a bunch of pre-placed shit like you've been doing the rest of the campaign. Whence cometh the things that make the Protoss different in the game? Whence cometh this storytelling through the gameplay that tells you that the Protoss are to be feared and respected as enemies? There is none. That's my hint for you. Well, let's just get on with this. We've only got one more mission left, and it's a doozy, but at least it's a doozy we can sort of cheese in a macro way. The hammer falls. Command ship Hyperion holding perimeter orbit over Confederate capital world Tarsonis.
The fleet has lost contact with the ground forces at New Gettysburg. General Minsk has ordered the immediate disengagement of the core Hall fleet from the Tarsonian system. Protoss and Zerg forces continue to battle across the core continent of Tarsonis. Receiving incoming transmission.
I can't believe he actually left her down there. I'm gone, and you better come with me. There's no telling who Arcturus will screw over next.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Gentlemen, you've done very well. But remember that we've still got a job to do. The seeds of a new empire have been sown, and if we hope to reap...
To hell with you!
You're making a terrible mistake. Think to cross me. I have sacrificed too much to let this fall apart.
You mean like you sacrificed Kerrigan?
You'll regret that. You don't seem to realize my situation here. I will not be stopped. Not by you, or the Confederates, or the Protoss, or anyone. I will rule this sector, or see it burnt to ashes around me. If you try to get
The fleet is prepped and ready, Commander. Awaiting orders.
The hell with him. We're gone.
He's still talking. Wait.
It appears that General Duke has successfully activated Tarsonis' primary defensive weapon, the ion cannon. The cannon must be shut down if any escape attempt is to be made.
What a disaster of a briefing. Not only does it have like map crap level quality where a guy continues speaking and gets interrupted by a robot, might as well be Ex-Dero from one of Balathal's map craps. We just have this like random, apropos of nothing, hey, let me exposition you that Duke erected an ion cannon, and even though it doesn't attack and has no role in the gameplay, it's just some building with a single animation or single frame, no animation at all. We got to kill it, otherwise we won't win the mission because that's what the triggers say. Here's your exposition. Dude, wowee, man, that was such a disaster of a briefing. It was so slapstick the way that they just turned Mengsk into a buffoon character, you know what I mean? Although I did get the, I remember that really cringy scene. I don't remember where it was in. I think it must have been in the Wings of Liberty campaign where that Kate, I think her name is Kate. I almost said Beckinsale, but I'm pretty sure that's a real person. I don't want to slander anybody and get sued because I mentioned that they were in Starcraft 2. But whoever the reporter woman is in Starcraft 2 has this like gotcha moment where she like plays some clip from a recorder, like an old style, like not even 21st century, like a 20th century piece of technology that plays back Mengsk's voice, where he says that transmission where he's like, I will not be stopped. And just the fact that like they retroactively ruined even that individual line of dialogue, which doesn't make any sense in the scene, but is at least delivered somewhat convincingly, if a little slapstick, if a little silly. That's just sickening. Man, what a mess. They also mentioned at the beginning of this whole briefing that Zerg and Protoss are apparently fighting each other on the surface of Tarsonis. But why? I mean, at least in the orbit of Tarsonis, which is where we were just fighting, which later gets retconned to be the surface, we are dealing with the Protoss in orbit, and that's where they've been. Previous to this point, they've just glassed the planets. They haven't actually descended upon the surface. Why did they descend now? I forgot to mention as well, Tassadar gets expositioned to us as a character in one of these text prologue things. The idea that you use text prologue to explain to the player who a character is and name a character, like name drop a character that is eventually going to be important to the plot, that's just sickening too. It's like they really did not give a fuck about trying to explain anything to the player and trying to show the player things other than telling them, you know? They would just rather tell you, like at the ion cannon transmission, and they would also like to tell you just how willing they are to completely screw over their own story and like completely like unwrite the experience that you've had up until this point. They just undo all of the work that they've had characterizing the protests. Now they just land on planets, whatever. Before they were like blowing them up from fucking orbit. They were just glassing them, turning them into completely inhospitable zones and extinguishing all life on the surface. Now they're just going to go down there and have a party with the Zerg. Why not? Destroy the ion cannon. Raynor must survive. Well, you know what I'm doing here.
Looks like we're on our own.
I'll be seeing you.
It's funny. Seems like yesterday Arcturus was the idealistic rebel crusader. Now he's the law and we're the criminals. Kills me to know that we helped him achieve his goals of conquest. Damn it. I shouldn't have let her go alone. You got it.
Free up some supply.
This is Jimmy. SCP good to go, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I read you.
Nice starting base, by the way.
Anytime you're ready. Sounds fun. This should be good.
What a rude boy.
Right on.
Identify target.
This should be
Anyway, it looks like he decided he didn't want siege mode anymore.
anytime you're ready. Sounds fun.
Orders, Captain.
Also, nice layout.
Your forces are under attack.
You got it.
Orders,
I think that almost seems like a bug.
Affirmative. Roger that. Affirmative.
I guess I'm supposed to use mines to reveal them or something.
Good to go, sir.
This is Jimmy. Sounds fun. Right on. Sounds fun. Jacked up and good to go.
Yes, sir.
Your forces are under attack.
Affirmative. Identify target. Orders, sir. Absolutely.
Go ahead, Commander. Right on.
SCP good to go.
Where did the ghost go? Maybe it died. I wasn't paying attention.
I read you. Orders for
Don't remember if we need detection, like wraith attacks. I really don't remember what happens in this map.
reporting for duty. SCP good to go, sir.
Just waiting until my barracks finishes so that I can get some more work done here.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna drop a factory, and we're gonna go ahead and just double nuke the ion cannon in the other hand of the map. We are gonna need some D-matrix on our dropship so that we can get in there. And we probably need to D-matrix a wraith or something so that we can actually see in there, but all in due time. Secured our borders, Trump style. There's like a marine up there or something.
Jacked up and good to go. Anytime you're ready.
Orders, Captain.
The idea that they would also give us Raynor in a fucking vulture instead of a marine,
Sounds fun.
so that he's maximally useless.
Sounds fun.
I'm just mostly planning on
This should be good.
ignoring red.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I will get mines.
Forces are under attack.
This should be
It's like a battle cruiser hiding around in one of these pockets over here somewhere.
This should be good.
I thought anyway.
This should be good. Sounds fun. This should be good.
Mission complete.
Sounds fun.
Maybe I was wrong. I don't know what the fuck is going on in any of these areas, man. Oh yeah, we're gonna need an academy.
Orders received. Job finished. I can't build that. Orders, Captain. Reporting for duty. SCP good to go, sir. Affirmative.
Raynor here.
So bizarre.
This is Jimmy.
So strange that this is the last Terran mission You know, you're saying goodbye to playing as Terrans for a good while now. You'd think you'd maybe be forced to demonstrate some skill with the race now. Not really. You just got some pre-placed units again.
This should be good. Oh yeah. Sounds fun.
Oh boy, they're on it. They're on the march.
This should be good.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh yeah, I need to get vulture speed if I want to outrun other vultures as a fucking hero vulture, by the way. Forgot about that. Classic move.
Your forces are under attack.
I don't think this is an attack. I think this is like a long-lost defense force or something.
Something on your mind? No problem. Oh, is that it? I dig. Oh, is that it?
But yes, there are a bunch of pre-placed men in the surrounding area.
No problem. Yeah, I'm going. I dig. Oh, is that it? Yeah, I'm going. Oh, is that it?
Rainer here. Explorer reporting. We have you on visual.
Upgrade complete.
Are we fully gassed up over here? Looks like it, yeah. Actually overdone so.
I read you. Reporting for duty. Affirmative. Reporting for duty.
Transmit orders.
Orders, Captain? Roger that. Orders received.
Okay, grab a wraith.
All right, bring it on. Yeah, I'm going. What are you on?
Just very goofy to me how we're still sitting here fighting nobody at all.
Oh, is that it?
No immediate base in sight either.
No problem.
Research complete.
Oh, is that it? No problem. I read you, sir. Yeah, I'm going. Oh, is that it? Yeah, I'm going. No problem.
Still waiting launch orders.
Oh, is that it? I dig. Oh, is that it?
See you, nerd.
Read you. Roger that. Right away, sir.
Insufficient phosphine gas.
Too bad we didn't start out with any ghosts of our own, to be honest. Would be nice.
SCV good to go, sir.
Greetings, Command.
Reporting for duty. Job finished. Reporting for duty.
Upgrade complete.
Job finished. Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Yeah, I guess the detection idea that I just had came from the fact that there were ghosts on this map and they would commonly nuke us. Nuke us, doofus. If you know what I mean.
Can I take your order?
So we'll grab 2 ghosts, a dropship, and a vessel, and that'll be our attempted win rate here. Our attempted win mission.
Roger. Transmit orders.
Base is under attack.
In. Coordinates received. Commander.
The single Marine that survived my Vulture run by.
Roger.
And it seems like we should be good if we move through this area here.
Roger. Attack formation. Vector. Coordinates received.
Yeah, it looks like we might actually need to do a couple layers of nukes, actually.
Go ahead, HQ.
We can wipe this area out with the 2 ghosts because there's only a couple Marines there, and then we can like land here, nuke there, something like that.
Insufficient phosphine
Oh yeah, I
gas.
forgot they're 200 each. Well, we don't really need that as much as we'll need ocular implants for the extra ghost range, so
Input
that's
coordinates.
fine.
Receiving headquarters.
Honestly, I have so many minerals, I might as well drop another command center for a comsat. And I am completely understanding of the fact that this is a stupid strategy and it's dumb that it's going to work. But don't hate the player.
Transmit orders.
I guess you can. You can hate me, it's fine. Is there even any gas in here? Just some minerals? Oh, there's a gas. It's all over there.
Let's roll.
Yeah, I guess I could take that too if I really wanted the extra gas.
Commencing.
I'm listening. In transit, HQ. Buckle up.
Anytime you're ready.
Though really, I think I might be able to just skate on by over here. Guess we'll see.
Go ahead, Commander.
Okay.
Sounds fun.
I know this game's pathfinding isn't the greatest, but surely you can find a better path than that.
Oh yeah.
I think I'm just gonna kill him with Raynor.
Anytime you're ready. Oh yeah.
I think the battlecruiser is over here to the right, actually.
Right on.
I don't know why they're so hell-bent on pre-placing a bunch of stuff.
This should be
Hi. Don't mind me. Seeing what's up.
sounds fun.
In and out, boys.
This should be good. Job finished. You got my attention. This is Jimmy.
I'm not sure if this is really safe to do.
Upgrade
It
complete.
might be a
Sounds
mistake to run through here. Oh, there's the BC.
right on. Sounds
Nuclear
fun.
missile ready.
This should be good. Right on. This should be good. Oh yeah.
Your forces are under attack.
Yeah, it turns out I didn't even need to go that way.
Add-on complete.
I thought there was more units over here, but I guess...
This should be good.
Guess there indeed were.
I read you. Roger that. Right away, sir.
Input coordinates. In the 555. Buckle up.
Alright, we got double nuke.
In the 5555.
I'm here. I'm gone.
Nuclear launch detected.
on your mind? I dig.
I'm here. Finally.
Oh, interesting.
Greetings, Command.
I'm here. I'm gone. Never know what hit 'em. I'm all over it. I hear that.
Your forces are under attack.
I hear that. I'm gone.
Receiving headquarters.
Gotta love AI spellcasting logic in this game. If only there was a north-facing ramp that I could go down here.
I'm gone. I hear that. I'm gone.
Nuclear launch detected.
People launching fireworks, by the way.
Insufficient Vespene gas.
Gotta love those.
We have you on visual.
Finally.
If it sounds like gunshots, it's because it might be.
I'm gone.
So you'll see that
What hit 'em?
it's actually both red and white are both over there. Hey, I'm blue too. Holy shit. America. Just realized that one. Subtle patriotic storytelling by Blizzard Entertainment.
Input coordinates.
Anyway, yeah, at this point, looks like I should be able to just walk right up there, double nuke underneath this battle cruiser. Well, one nuke underneath this battle cruiser, and then another set of nukes.
Yeah.
But the rest should be enough.
Orders, sir.
Nuclear missile Vespene gas.
Somebody call for an exterminator.
Raynor here.
Destination? Hang on. We're in for some chop.
All right, clearly I need another bunker over here as well. Hence my
Give me something to shoot. You want a piece of me?
marine key button mashing.
Detected. Not enough
Got my
energy.
attention. Jacked up and fired up.
He's cloaked over here.
Yes. Slamming. You got it. Go ahead, Commander. You want a piece of me, boy? Fired up.
Your forces are under attack.
Oh boy, do not lock me down, please.
Strap yourselves in, boys.
That would be pretty annoying if it happened again.
In transit, HQ. Buckle up.
Call the shot.
Input coordinates.
Finally. Ghost reporting. I'm gone.
Nuclear launch.
I don't think this will do too much damage here, but the way nukes work are that,
I read you.
you basically have the opportunity to instantly kill any building as long as you're...
I'm all over it.
Oh,
I hear that.
see ya.
Never know.
As long as your shit's in order here. I'm just gonna scout with this dropship because it's not that important to keep alive now.
Your forces are under attack. Nuclear launch detected.
I don't. Again, that's not going to kill it, but
Receiving headquarters.
should get close enough that when I get my next nuke finished, we're in business.
I'm here. Never know what hit 'em. I hear that. I'm gone. Finally.
I might not have even completely cleared this turret.
Nuclear missile ready.
Call the shot. I'm all over it.
Looks like it didn't matter. And there you go. I guess we would have won if we just left it on a timer at this point, but as you can see, I was barely pressured. I got nuked once. Suicide Ahmed.
I'm here.
Voila! Very unceremonious end to the campaign, but don't worry. There's a cutscene. Though I suppose maybe we should save that for after the editor review. And here it is, the fateful site where I nuked everything. Everything that was here was pre-placed. White had a base that was really not that important to, or really not that significant, but also did have 3 command centers. So that's pretty cool. Hey, I think this is the AI script where it actually requests only 1 command center and multiple add-ons or something like that. So if you run this script without the pre-placed number of command centers here, 3 of course, it'll just brick. This might also be the same script. Oh no, that was Terran Campaign Insane. Never mind. There's a script that actually freezes the game if it can't build ghosts. I forgot which one that was for a second. Here we go. We got some red, nice depots. The layout on this wasn't as bad, I guess, but the biggest issue is that there's no base for the player to take. Like, okay, you can clear all of these pre-placed units and then a battlecruiser to take the space. Or you can, I mean, I guess do the same thing anyway to take that base. Like, it does unlock 2 bases, but neither of them are particularly compelling. Your gas is so far away as well, and all of these bases from the minerals. It's like they really just wanted you to suffer if you wanted to play this the long route where you just macro up and kill them. But why would I do that? When the game is wasting my time, I make sure it wastes as little as possible. To some sort of cutoff point, of course. It's just really is impressive to me how goofy and silly and stupid the whole thing is, where you just, okay, I guess there's this ion cannon. I guess they kind of try to defend it based on all these pre-placed units, but they don't really give a shit. You can just nuke them. I mean, look at player 1's unit layer again. 119 pre-placed supply compared to my 28. Just attack me with everything you have, dummy. And then white's 95 out of 182. Like, that's a lot, not counting nukes, obviously, that he gets pretty early on. So it's just absurd to me that there's so much pre-placed shit. They're all allied to each other. They could just walk over me at the beginning of the game, just like the Protoss in the previous mission, just like the Confederates in the Trump card mission or in the Big Push mission. It's insane how easy this should and ought to have been for the enemy team, and yet I just walked in and nuked a couple times and won, floating 5,000 minerals and never expanding. So part of that is the map not allowing me to expand, but part of that is also the fact that I didn't need to. And I think the whole idea of leaving this shit on an island that's completely inaccessible without transports, while also making it so that your AI enemies are so brain dead that they barely even touch you. It's like, if you have something that's on an island, it mandates APM and action economy and a certain kind of tech tree out of the player, which isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world if they would get that tech tree incidentally just by getting to the point where they're playing the game. But you wouldn't do that because everything else on this map is accessible by land, and you would just tank up and kill them all. That's how I would do it if I was just tasked with eliminating the enemy bases and the ion cannon wasn't even in the map. Unless they expanded over here, I wouldn't bother attacking them. Because there wouldn't be any need to get air units, for example. Like, maybe I would get vessels if the game was competitive and I needed D-Matrix or irradiate on ghosts or something, but, you know, failing that, it would be pretty straightforward, I think. So the idea that, you know, in a perfect world or in an ideal world where I'm actually playing the game against these two players, I would be doing something completely unlike building air units. The idea that you included an island in there just to force me to build air units is just a slap in the face, even more so than all of these fucked up mineral fields. And I guess that's really it, man. That's the end of the entire campaign. Can you believe it? So let's watch the closing cutscene. And then let's get out of here. Radio static in the 25th or 6th century. Ah, U and two N's.
Fellow Terrans, I come to you in the wake of recent events to issue a call to reason. Let no human deny the perils of our time. While we battle one another, divided by the petty strife of our common history, the tide of a greater conflict is turning against us, threatening to destroy all that we have accomplished. It is time for us as nations and as individuals to set aside our long-standing feuds and unite. The tides of an unwinnable war are upon us, and we must seek refuge upon higher ground lest we be swept away by the flood. The Confederacy is no more. Whatever semblance of unity and protection it once provided is a phantom, a memory. With our enemies left unchecked, who will you turn to for protection?
The devastation wrought by the alien invaders is self-evident. We have seen our homes and communities destroyed by the calculated blows of the Protoss. We have seen firsthand our friends and loved ones consumed by the nightmarish Zerg. Unprecedented and unimaginable though they may be, these are the signs of our time. The time has come, my fellow Terrans, to rally to a new banner. In unity lies strength. Already many of the dissident factions have joined us. Out of the many, we shall forge an indivisible whole, capitulating only to a single throne. And from that throne, I
shall watch over you. From this day forward, let no human make war upon any other human. Let no Terran agency conspire against this new beginning, and let no man consort with alien powers. And to all the enemies of humanity, seek not to bar our way, for we shall win through, no matter the cost.
Hey, that was more battlecruisers in that end shot than in StarCraft 2's entire lore. That's crazy. Aren't expanded books fun? Don't they really just give you a better appreciation for the stakes of everything that's going on? Oh boy. So obviously that cutscene was... it actually kind of lends a little bit of credence to a theory I've been percolating. I've been thinking about the idea that maybe the way that this is all going down is all these cutscenes, they might have just been a bunch of disconnected sort of storyboards that didn't really fit into the core understanding of what the main story was all about. And then they were like, oh, we can arrange them here. We can use them here. And so they maybe did a couple of another passes, like adding more decals to them or something, to make it seem like loosely connected or whatever, because a lot of that stuff was just like random combat, right? It had very little to do with what was actually going on in the narrative, and you can sort of infer that they were trying to tell some sort of story, but it's not very explicit. Maybe that's fine, maybe that was intentional actually, but you can't rule out the idea that maybe they just at the last second were able to repurpose some old footage. I guess you can infer that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do that very successfully, considering they still have the fucking Alpha logo in the intro cutscene, so that's pretty embarrassing. I also really don't understand why they have the Protoss warp-in sound effect in front of the Yamato. Like, if I guess that also lends, pokes some holes in the theory, because surely they would have fixed that if they could, just like they would have fixed the logo if they could. So maybe this actually was all planned out a little bit more ahead of the time, but man. I suppose the speech was all right. It was definitely the most on point and relevant cutscene out of all of the ones that we've seen thus far. And I guess most of the footage that we saw as well was somewhat related to actual content, actual gameplay experience. But at the same time, a lot of the content of the speech doesn't really make that much sense. Like, the Zerg were really just mindless idiots for most of the campaign, and the Protoss were obviously, we saw them in one mission, which is just embarrassing. And on top of that one mission, they were just boring enemies that did the same thing that everybody else did. They ignored us, and they had a bunch of pre-placed shit. Whoop-de-fucking-do. So the first campaign was obviously very much a filler campaign, and it was very much a disaster. Maybe there can be some sort of improvement in the core understanding of how to play the game that we come away from when we play the Zerg campaign. Hopefully there's a little bit less heavy-handed in terms of tutorialization. Hopefully there's a little bit less in the way of really boring filler missions that don't accomplish anything, that don't teach us anything. I just hope that the player is respected a little bit more in the Zerg campaign and later in the Protoss campaign. I would hope that, had I not already played those campaigns. But since I've already played those campaigns, well, Onward to the next one, boys. Stay tuned.